Thank you for joining me here this afternoon. The time is currently 4:20 p.m. Central and 5:20 p.m. Eastern, and we currently have an ongoing tornado in portions of Nebraska. If we go ahead and zoom in here on the radar, you're going to notice that in southern portions of Cherry County, just north of the town of Mullen, we do have a large tornado ongoing confirmed via multiple storm chasers. The actual observed tornado warning is weather spotters confirmed. Again, this is a confirmed tornado on the ground. It is a photogenic cone tornado north of Mullen. If you're in this area, you need to make sure that you are seeking shelter immediately on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows and in an interior room. This occurred because a supercell in a high cape environment interacted with this boundary here. This is a classic example of a central southern plains setup during the summertime where we see that high instability, but shear's lacking, SRH is lacking, but interaction with the boundary can fix that problem, and we now have an ongoing tornado here north of Mullen. Again, we do have multiple chasers that have confirmed this tornado. We had Ryan Scholl on this. SRM also had a view of it just a second ago there at the start of the stream. You might have seen. Again, Stormwater Media and Freddie McKinney have given us permission to use their live feed for this stream. Again, we're kind of just jumping right into things here because this is a little bit of an emergency situation. Again, obviously, this isn't a super populated area, but we are getting relatively close to some more populated areas like Mullen, Seneca, and even Thedford, Nebraska need to be on the lookout over the next several minutes in case this supercell does take a deviant motion further southeast like it looks like it could. Areas along Highway 2 and Highway 83, you need to be prepared for the next 2 to 3 hours, as this is a slow-moving supercell and it's going to have the potential to produce a tornado for a while. So we're going to continue to watch this as it moves off to the east-southeast. Again, this is a classic supercellular structure here. We've actually got another supercell developing on the backside here pretty clearly that's going to try and potentially produce a tornado as well if it can become discrete in this environment. So we'll continue to watch out for this, but again, it is likely that we do have still an ongoing tornado here just north of Mullen, Nebraska, just north of Highway 2. Yeah, so we still have this on the ground. It's now a photogenic rope tornado. Again, this is confirmed via multiple storm chasers and weather spotters now. This is a non-fully condensed rope tornado currently circulating in the sky. I believe it's still on the ground. It's either on the ground or it's very close to being on the ground. But again, either way, you need to be in your safe spot. SRM and Freddie are going to be getting in on this pretty close, pretty soon here. So we'll see if we can get a view from their feeds. Again, as of right now, Storm Chaser Ryan Scholl does have a look at this, and I'm trying to watch his feed. Again, it's a little baby rope at this point. It looks to be circulating out there. As again, I think that backside supercell did cause some issues. I will note we do have a merger coming in here just off to the west that could potentially interact with our supercell and allow it to produce a tornado once more, but as of right now, our tornado has at least very briefly occluded, so we'll continue to watch this supercell as it moves off to the east-southeast. We do have an enhanced risk of severe weather today going out for most of central Nebraska. This is not driven by a tornado threat, though. The tornado probability sits at a 2% risk for most of Nebraska and South Dakota, and then we also have a secondary 2% risk back into portions of the upper Midwest where a 3 Cape Fort setup tornado threat definitely can't be ruled out. I would not rule out a couple more tornadoes today, but again, I think the primary threat is going to be damaging wind gusts of 70 to 80 miles an hour. We actually have been looking at this threat for a while. The HRRR likes the idea of a line of storms convecting here very shortly, sweeping across central Nebraska, potentially becoming destructive as it makes its way towards the Lincoln and Omaha metro areas, with damaging wind gusts from 60 to 80 miles an hour being a possibility. If we actually go ahead and measure the wind gusts here with the Radar Omega HRRR future track, you're going to notice that we have a lot of those swaths being maxed out on the wind gust forecast. If we actually take a look at this line at its peak intensity, again, over 60 knots, so those would be hurricane force wind gusts forecasted here from the HRRR and NAM models even consistently across most of central Nebraska here. So again, that 30% hatch damaging wind risk in play for today, no joke. Again, make sure that you are hatching down any loose lawn items out here. So far today, we've got about 15 million people under the gun for the threat of significant severe weather. Again, we do kind of have a secondary threat back into portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin here, and I actually think that we could see a couple of tornadoes with this mode as well. We do have a few chasers that decided to position up into portions of Minnesota, as again, we do have that 3 Cape vorticity set up in play here in this area for today. I do see an issue with convection not being necessarily super discrete, but we'll see what happens over time as this mode of storms progresses off to the east. Again, I think our main focus, though, is obviously going to be down here into portions of central Nebraska, where we do have likely still a ongoing funnel cloud or potentially even again an ongoing tornado here again. This is luckily a LP supercell, or at least an LP hook echo, so we're kind of getting a look at what things look like in particular. What's going on, everybody? What's up, Mr. Twister, the Southcast? What's up, D. Abbott, Camp, Central Illinois, EAS, Mr. Storm, Brody, Severe Weather? How's it going, everybody? Again, we are watching this threat for severe weather continue to evolve, and let's see, we do have that report of the tornado now from a train spotter there. So again, northwest of Mullen, Nebraska, as of 8 minutes ago, a cone tornado briefly on the ground and kind of roped out as a rope tornado just a few moments ago. Again, potentially recirculating here as this cell merger encroaches on the supercell's territory. Again, we do have multiple chasers on this thing, so if it touches back down, we're almost certainly going to see it. But as of right now, we are kind of just waiting here to see what this supercell does. We do have another supercell further southwest near Hyannis, Nebraska. Now, I don't see too much of a tornado threat associated with this one. Its boundary interactions aren't going to be nearly as great. And if we go ahead and take a look at the HRRR model, although a minuscule difference, I believe that we have a little bit more instability further northeast. Yeah, so again, we'll continue to watch this southern supercell here over the Hyannis area, but I think it's mainly going to devolve into a damaging wind and especially a hail threat. But areas along Highway 2 there, make sure that you are looking out, moving indoors and away from windows. Some of that large hail there falling over Duluth and Whitman. But I think that our general concern here is going to be over our twin supercells here developing right to the north of Thedford. Again, I really think this backside supercell is going to be the one to watch shortly as it does become a little bit more discreet. Freddie's zooming in on something. I don't know if he has a funnel cloud or a tornado or what, but potentially something trying to circulate there at the very least. Let's listen to what he's saying.
I still would like the one that the storm that dropped already once. I still like it.
The southwest mezzo?
Yeah.
So, again, we'll continue to watch this as it progresses off to the east-southeast. Again, our velocity couplet is actually starting to become a little bit more prominent there on the radar once again. If this actually does produce another tornado, it actually may not even be associated with our supercell, so this may honestly be, again, an entirely, not just an LP, but an OP tornado, as in no precipitation. So we'll see what happens. Again, continuing to watch all of our supercells here progress off to the east-southeast in Nebraska. Going back up to Minnesota, again, I'm not super concerned other than perhaps a damaging wind threat approaching the north side of Minneapolis here very shortly. Again, I don't see too much of a significant tornado threat this far north unless we see these storms take advantage of that 3-cape vorticity setup. If we go over to our 0 to 3 kilometer cape here on the HRRR future track, you're going to notice that those values really soar quite high across portions of southern Minnesota over the next couple of hours. In fact, right now they're kind of at their peak at about 200 joules per kilogram, which again, for 3-cape is extremely impressive. And again, we do have surface vorticity that far south as well. Now the question is, will any discrete convection pop up down there, and will it happen in time? I'm going to say yes and no. I don't think that it's going to happen in the time frame where we have those super impressive 3-cape values and that vorticity overlap, but I do think that we will see some discrete convection down here into portions of southern Minnesota tonight along the I-90 corridor that we perhaps need to look out for just in case the leftovers from that setup are still in play. So we'll see what happens, but again, I think our main storm mode to watch for today is going to be our Nebraska storm mode. Again, this supercell, really we were not expecting to fire this quickly, but again, it had that interaction with that boundary, and it has that extreme, excessive amount of instability out here to work with, and that's what popped off that brief, but again, potentially briefly significant tornado there. Again, velocities were quite strong, and it was a very photogenic tornado, to say the least. Again, had views of it from multiple chasers, especially Ryan Scholl. He was definitely the MVP interceptor for this one. Again, on the ground for about 10 to 15 minutes, but definitely a briefly, at least decently strong tornado there as it moved off to the east-southeast. Again, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining the stream. If you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe as we do this every day for areas all across the country. Let's get back up to 4,500 subs once again, chat. We are stuck at 4,497, so we need 3 more subs to get up to 4,500, so we'll see what happens. We're going to be live here pretty much every day for the next several days. Tomorrow, we're going to have another live stream. I would not be shocked to see an upgrade to a 5% tornado probability tomorrow across parts of northern Illinois and far southern Wisconsin. Currently, we do have a dual slight risk of severe weather going out tomorrow. One of them going out for portions of the Rockies, and then the other one going out for much of the Midwest. The Midwestern one is going to be what brings us our potential tornado threat. We do technically have a 2% highlighted over parts of Colorado, mainly for the threat of landspouts, I would imagine, but this mode in the Midwest actually looks to be quite prominent, not just for a tornado threat, but potentially a damaging wind threat as well. I don't think it'll be too much different from what we saw just a few days ago out here in this area where we had the significant tornado rip through Davenport. We had a large EF2 tornado cause some extreme damage to mobile homes, ripped roofs off of houses, uprooted trees and such. Again, I see a very similar setup to what we had associated with that event. We've kind of been watching this for a while here. I've mentioned Wednesday potentially being a big day on our community tab, and it looks like we could potentially be talking about that ending up coming to fruition here. Again, if we were to take a look at the HRRR model, we're going to be able to forecast this mode of storms to likely be linear for most of its lifetime if we go back to the 18Z run here, but that doesn't mean that we can't see discrete convection before that happens. Again, potentially a couple discrete cells across parts of southern Wisconsin back through northern Illinois produce a brief tornado. The only reason they're going to have that potential to produce a brief tornado is because our shear actually, relative to the recent events in the Midwest, is actually pretty decent with this one. If we take a look at our 0 to 6 kilometer bulk shear, you're going to notice that those values actually do get quite elevated, especially if we go back to the early afternoon time hours across much of northern Illinois, even central Illinois and southern Wisconsin, getting in on some of that action as well. But again, the swath kind of starting there back into portions of eastern Iowa in the morning time hours, sitting at about 50 knots for the 0 to 6 shear. So very impressive, actually. Again, I would not be shocked to see a couple of tornadoes tomorrow. I do think that an upgrade to a 5% risk is possible. If it were to happen, it really could be anywhere, but it would probably look something like this, extending from somewhere near Bloomington, Illinois, back towards Madison, Wisconsin. Again, I don't know if storm mode necessarily supports it, but everything else is kind of in play. Again, we do have that SRH, we do have our wind shear, we have our instability. Everything is in place for potentially a threat for a couple of tornadoes tomorrow. Again, very similar setup to what we saw just a few days ago, and then even after that, we're kind of watching the Ohio Valley for a big-time damaging wind, and potentially an isolated tornado threat back here into portions of Ohio and Pennsylvania, so pretty active few days. That's not even mentioning our potential tropical cyclone that is starting to really develop quite nicely as it moves across the state of Florida here, a very defined area of low pressure at this point as it continues to move off to the west. Again, we're iffy on if this is going to develop into a tropical storm or not. If it does, it would be Tropical Storm Dexter. The Icon model, the one that was really being aggressive with this, is kind of backed off in terms of its intensity, but it looks like we could still see a landfall at potentially low-end tropical storm intensity if the Icon model's new runs come to fruition. And as of right now, it's actually bringing some significant flash flooding to most of the Florida Panhandle. If we take a look at the storm total precipitation, you'll see a lot of these areas near Panama City have already accumulated a few inches of rain. As we see that excessive rainfall continue to fall over these communities, we're going to be watching for the potential of some significant flash flooding, so if you are out here, make sure to stay safe. I would not be shocked to see potentially a 2% risk get put in play here for the day 2 or 3 outlook, as we could actually be looking at a minuscule brief QLCS, or excuse me, not QLCS, but tropical tornado threat across the Gulf Coast, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, again, after that spiel there, we are still watching our Nebraska supercell as it does still have an associated rotating mesocyclone. The tornado warning remains unobserved, but again, this is no longer a tornado on the ground as we're aware of. Again, I would watch this backside supercell. I think very quickly, if this becomes discrete, it's going to have the very real possibility to produce a tornado somewhere off to the north of Thedford. So we'll continue to watch this. Again, the general track of these supercells are decently stationary, but they are technically moving southeast very slowly. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. Again, if you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We do this every day for areas all across the country. Donations are appreciated, but they are, of course, optional. But they do help out my channel. Let me know that this is going to be a career option for me in the future. I love doing this every day. I've done it for a few years now, and I think we've got a lot of people that like watching us out here, too. Again, our main goal is to help these people out in situations like this, which, again, is why we're not super honed in here on these supercells, is because they're not in... I mean, nobody lives out here, guys. We've covered this area a copious amount of times, especially recently. The most recent time, I believe, being the Bingham tornado, the mega wedge. Nobody lives out here, and we know that for a fact, so we don't have to be too focused in until this starts to move a little bit closer to the Highway 2 corridor near Mullen. So we'll see what happens. They have upgraded the far western supercell over Hyannis up to lime-sized hill potential, so if you're out here southeast of Hyannis, make sure that you are getting indoors and away from windows. Again, south of Highway 2, there's where that largest hail is going to be falling, currently just east of Highway 61. Again, not a whole lot of residential areas out here, but this supercell is also stationary, which could lead to a significant flash flooding threat developing. Apparently, this was a trained weather spotter that did report lime-sized hail just east of Hyannis, so we'll see what happens, but I would not be shocked to see a flash flood warning get issued here very shortly for portions of the county of Grant. So we'll see what things look like over the next several minutes. Would not be shocked to see something like that come out either here for the areas north of Seneca, although these supercells are actually moving a little bit quicker. The precipitation's not quite as intense in general. So we'll see what happens. Does look like our main supercells starting to have a pretty defined hook echo pop out again. They're on reflectivity, potentially some very weak rotation developing. So we'll see what happens. Oh my goodness. Alan with the $75 donation. Ladies and gentlemen, the GOAT is back once again. Oh my goodness. Alan, if you're in here, dude, let me know if you're in here first. W's in the chat for Alan. Oh my goodness. Alan with the $75 donation. Wow. He is in here. No, you're good, Alan. Thank you so much for the $75 dono. That is incredibly generous. Wow. W's in the chat for Alan. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the $75 donation. Incredibly generous. Again, Alan is literally the GOAT of the community. So let's run up some W's in the chat for Alan again with this $75 dono. Alan, you're a GOAT. You know that, bro. But again, we have to be so appreciative to Alan. I don't even know if I would have a platform this large if it wasn't for Alan. So thank you so much to Alan again for the incredibly generous $75 donation. Again, you did not have to do that. Thank you so much, dude. That is insane. Thank you so much, in all seriousness. $75 donation. Again, W's for Alan down below in the chat. Wow. Again, it's awesome to see Alan back here once again. Thank you so much, dude. You work hard and deliver good info. Thank you so much. Again, that really does mean a lot, so I really do appreciate the $75 donation. That is epic. Alan is a GOAT. Legitimate GOAT. So, again, ignoring Alan's goatedness, Lime-Sized reported there east of Hyannis, and the $3 donation there with the little super sticker. W's for Alan in the chat again. Look at that. That little bouncy guy. I don't even know what they call him, but thank you so much, Alan, for another $3 donation. W's in the chat again for Alan. Thank you so much, my dude. W's, spam them up all for Alan in the chat. Alan is a GOAT. Alan is goated. W's in the chat for now the $78. Yes, sir. Alan is a GOAT. Anyways. Again, continuing to watch our supercell move north of Mullen, Nebraska here. Still a pretty defined area of inflow here associated with this supercell. I would not be shocked to see this produce another brief tornado once it becomes discrete. Again, that cell merger happened. Really intensified this thing once again, so we'll see what occurs with this. But again, a tornado warning remains in effect for the north side of Mullen and Seneca, Nebraska. We're going to continue to watch this move east-southeast as it pushes towards the Highway 2 corridor. I do think that, again, this is going to have the potential to produce another brief tornado as it continues to ride along with this boundary and this copious amount of instability. Again, I don't see it happening in the near future because of this backside cell merger, or not necessarily cell merger, but this backside supercell, but we'll look out for it. Again, this backside supercell could be its own problem here pretty shortly. Storm Media actually has a pretty impressive-looking wall cloud there, it appears. On the left-hand side of their screen, I don't know if you can see that.
I see it right now.
Probably see it there on Freddy's feed. Looks to be a potentially developing wall cloud, if I'm not mistaken. And we, again, don't have... I mean, if this produces the tornado, which I doubt, if it did, though, it would be incredibly rain-wrapped. We do have hail appearing on the correlation coefficient with both of these supercells. Yeah, definitely a developing wall cloud there, it appears. Alright, see you, Southcast. Thank you so much. Yes, let's get to 5,000 subscribers, or excuse me, 4,500 subs, chat. We are 4 away from hitting it once again. Again, still a potentially tornadic supercell here, moving off to the east, north of Thedford and Mullen, Nebraska. Again, this is going to be crossing the Highway 83 corridor shortly. We did actually just get a new flash flood warning for portions of Illinois. We have a flash flood warning going out for northern sections of, I believe this is Clay County here, yeah. So areas just off to the north of Louisville, make sure that you are avoiding driving in flooded roadways. These pop-up summertime thunderstorms bringing some heavy precipitation to all of the Ohio Valley today, so we'll continue to watch out for this. Cold air funnels do remain a possibility out here across much of the Ohio Valley as well. These summertime, kind of late summer, early fall setups do support cold air funnels with pretty much all big-time thunderstorms that pop up out here with all that moisture and instability, so we'll watch out for that. We do actually have a pretty significant flash flooding event that continues to ongo here in Virginia because of pretty much the same thing. Again, just these summertime pop-ups. Yesterday, we did see a flash flood emergency for the city of Petersburg. Obviously, a lot of water rescues take place, and then again, we've got another flash flooding situation unfolding here associated with Invest 93L across parts of the Florida Panhandle near Panama City. But again, going back over here to Nebraska, our supercell continues to broadly rotate just north of Mullen as it interacts with that boundary. I still would watch our northern supercell here. I can't tell if it's going to go to straight or not at this time, but I think it has a good possibility to. Again, if these supercells just got out of the way of each other, they could potentially both be producing tornadoes at this point, especially the one interacting with the boundary. But we'll see. Again, as of right now, though, probably not going to have a tornado in the near future with either of those. Again, I am awaiting to see the next icon run for Invest 93L. One just came out, putting it at low-end tropical storm intensity, but it's kind of been the most aggressive out of all of our models with the forecasting for this, so it'll be interesting to see what it spews out for the 0Z run. If we actually go over to the noodle models here on the Tropical Tidbits website, and we look at intensity guidance, you'll notice that at this point, only a couple of our little noodles there have this going low in tropical storm intensity, and the ones that do, it's nearly 200 hours out. So, again, a lot of times these kind of underdo intensity, especially with the early season storms, so we'll see what happens. The general guidance for landfall has pretty much consistently put this at New Orleans, except for that one rogue icon model run that put it east of Houston at a 968. So we'll see what happens, but again, as of right now, this appears to be a pretty moot system, other than the fact that it could potentially bring some flash flooding, and that it will. Almost certainly, again, potentially a couple of tropical tornadoes as well. So we'll look out for that. Tornado warning has now been canceled for the north side of Thedford, Nebraska. So again, no longer an ongoing tornado here. But we will continue to watch these supercells as they move northeast and produce some small hail, some gusty winds north of Highway 2. Again, we do have a couple of chasers out here in Nebraska. I don't want to just completely ignore Minnesota mode, but I don't see it being generally impressive in the short term. Again, a lot of these storms are not discrete. They're just going to be big-time damaging wind producers. And then outside of that, again, all that we really have to watch right now are thunderstorms associated with the Invest 93L in the Florida Panhandle and far southeastern Alabama, producing some downburst damaging winds. Again, flash flood warning going out for parts of Clay County, Illinois, as those pop-up thunderstorms continue to produce heavy rainfall over these areas. Again, not a whole lot else to talk about. Nothing super intense that we need to focus on like right now. We do have a bit of an appearance of monsoon season taking place in portions of southeastern Arizona today. A marginal risk going out for portions of the Tucson metro area back through the Arizona-Mexico border with a little severe warning supercell just north of Highway 260 right now. That's going to be moving off to the west-northwest, just north of Forest Lakes. That's going to be approaching the radar site pretty soon, actually. Let's see, they did continue the Lime-sized hail tag on our western supercell here out here in Nebraska. But outside of that, not a whole lot going on. Again, if you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We're now we're 3 subscribers away from 4,500. And again, it helps me out a lot, lets me know that I'm doing something right, and it helps me know that this is going to be a career option for me in the future. We do this every day for areas all across the country. Alrighty. Okay. So, near Pincher Creek, we did have a very, oh, that was horrible, a very interesting sight just a few minutes ago in Canada. We had 3 funnel clouds, all right next to each other. These are all very definitive rope funnels, likely cold air funnels, just near the community of Pincher Creek about half an hour ago. Just reposted that photo on X if you guys want to check that out. Very interesting stuff. Again, outside of that, not a lot to really watch out for as of right now. Supercells continue to just chug along here as they move through central portions of Nebraska. Again, likely that these aren't going to really have any tornadic potential in their future if they don't become discrete real fast. I think pretty soon it's really not even going to be a big hail threat. Probably just going to see a lot of heavy rain, some flash flooding potential. As we mentioned earlier, again, we do technically have 3 slate risks today, which is definitely an interesting sight. When did I finally fall asleep after stream? I was exactly at 4 o'clock, or a little after 4, I think. Could literally hear birds outside chirping. Then I woke up 2 hours later to feed my dog, then went back to sleep until about 11:30, which is pretty early for me. Most mornings I wake up at about noon or 1. Which, I know, my sleep schedule needs fixed. Going to bed at 4 and waking up at 1 is not ideal, but in a month I go back to school, so that'll kind of work itself out naturally. So we'll see. But, you know, it is what it is. Again, there's nothing necessarily harmful about it, but it's just not gonna work out pretty soon here. But anyway. Alan with the 6-month membership. Wow. 6 months as a moderate risker. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the continuation for 6 months straight now. Let's go. W's in the chat for Alan as a moderate risker. Thank you so much, Alan, for continuing your membership. I do want to have a new members-only video out for you guys pretty soon. I don't want to specify too closely what it is, but it is something that I think a lot of you guys are going to be pretty excited about. If you do want to become a member, make sure to click the link down. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan, I can get to your question here in just a second. Alan, with the 10 gifted Davis Does Weather Slate Risk memberships, ladies and gentlemen, W's in the chat for Alan. With all 10 of those gifted memberships, congrats to everybody that got gifted a membership. I see a lot of people saying that means that Stormrunner Media is watching. That's not necessarily true. People can get a membership without watching the stream. But oh my goodness. Alan with the 10 gifted. Guys. Alan. I don't even know what to say at this point. Oh, like, seriously. Alan, you are incredible. Everybody, let's get 100 W's in the chat for Alan. 100 W's. That is insane. Again, W's in the chat for Alan. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted Davis Does Weather memberships. Again, if you did just get gifted, congratulations. Again, you get exclusive access to videos, you get early access to forecasts, you also get custom stickers to use in chat, and shoutouts at the end of every video, and more. Again, Alan is a GOAT. Do not thank anybody but Alan. Do not thank me, that's for sure. Alan is the GOAT. Again, God bless Alan. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted Davis Does Weather memberships. That is insane. That is actually crazy. I was genuinely in shock when I saw that. By the way, we had somebody ask a question about the Atlanta Metro with the MLB game. The Atlanta Metro area, if you do get rain, it's going to be for like 2 or 3 minutes. It's not going to be that intense. It'll be very brief, and it's not going to be, heavy rainfall or anything like that, so the game shouldn't be ruined or anything. Again, Alan is a GOAT. That is for true. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted and the $75 dono and the $3 dono. That is insane. That is crazy. So thank you so much, dude. That is awesome. Like, seriously. Alright, we see all the W's. I keep getting messages, like, offered to hide or show. Anyway. As we were saying, before Alan decided to be a GOAT, we are continuing to watch our supercells merge here, likely gonna kill its tornado threat and its hail threat for that matter. I don't see this supercell really having any potential at this point. Our western supercell, again, is doing okay, but, I mean, there's not great instability out here. The boundary interactions are going to be poor. There's not really too much of a chance that this supercell becomes anything like what its predecessor was off to the east. We should be honestly about ready to end off stream here decently soon. I don't want to end off stream, but I do want to kind of move on from the significant severe weather coverage, as again, things just don't look to be too active here over the next couple of hours. Again, I do want to continue to look at Invest 93L and kind of do a little forecast for the next couple of days. But man, Alan is a GOAT. It's just the truth. We did actually have an 89-mile-per-hour wind gust recorded earlier near Jiggs, Nevada, about 27 minutes ago, south of Elko. Very significant. Now, obviously, those are mountain wind gusts, but... Jesse! Jesse is not getting slapped. Jesse's in the other end of the state. He's about 350 miles away. Unfortunately. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning for our large hailstorm here approaching Arthur. This is for lime-sized hail and damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. If you are in this area, make sure you are moving indoors and away from windows immediately. Your seat melted? Dang. That's what happens when you live in Vegas. 106 degrees. It's ridiculous. Anyway. Again, if you are new here, make sure to like the stream and subscribe. We are now only 2 subscribers away from hitting 4,500 again. Again, it would be greatly appreciated. Again, we do this every day for areas all across the country, whether it's winter storms, hurricanes, or severe weather, we've got you covered. We did have a peak boundary interaction, indeed. Yes, we had a brief photogenic tornado north of Mullen, Nebraska, which, again, this was kind of like the climax of the environment out here. this was really the only area where something like that would have been possible. A briefly significant tornado. This is the only area where we had this copious amount of instability overlap with the boundary. A supercell popped off that was briefly discrete, and boom. I mean, it only took about 10 to 15 minutes. So, anyway. Again, congrats if you did get gifted a membership by Alan the Goat. Again, we are 2 subscribers off of 4,500. Wow. Incredible. Again, Ryan Scholl and Adam Lucio definitely had the best views of this brief photogenic tornado. I don't think there's much contesting that. But we do have another new flash flood warning going out for the east side of the St. Louis metro region. This is an observed flash flood warning. Looks like public reported flash flooding along Highway 140 in Bethalto, Illinois. If you're out here in this area, make sure you are avoiding driving in the Bethalto area along Highway 140, along West Bethalto Drive in between Cottage Hills and Meadowbrook is where we're expecting that significant flash flooding to be taking place. Again, just one of those pop-up summertime thunderstorms sat over the area for long enough. That's exactly what happened. And that's kind of what we're watching everywhere east of the Mississippi. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't have to get braces, luckily. They told me for like 13 years of my life that I was going to. And then they were just like, oh yeah. Over the last couple of years, like, oh yeah, you're good. You don't have to get them. They literally said you should get them, but you don't have to. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get them then? like what? Davis does derechos? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've actually never had a cavity, which, this is going to sound kind of disgusting, but I don't brush my teeth as often as I should. And I eat a lot of crap, so it's kind of surprising. But I've never had, I'm the only person in my family that's never had a cavity. And they're always getting on me about my dental hygiene. It's like, you guys are cooked. Even my 6-year-old brother has had more cavities than myself. I think he's had 2. 2 or 3. I don't know. He's definitely had some. We're 2 subscribers away from 4,500. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. We are super close. Let's go ahead and bring it up here since there's not a lot to talk about live. Oh, this is Davis's Games. You should go subscribe over the second channel. We did just post a new video today. Again, we're frequently uploading on that channel once again. Say every other day content. Minecraft, Roblox, Twisted, that sort of stuff. Let's get that channel to 200 subscribers. And let's pull up the live subscriber count. And we are 2 subscribers away from the big 4500. Let's see what happens. Again, we do this every day for areas all across the country. Whether it's severe weather, hurricanes, or winter storms, we've got you covered. Again, it helps me out a lot. Look at the graph over the past several days. It's been a bumpy roller coaster. We've hit 4,500 like 3 times over like the past couple weeks because I haven't been posting a lot. We keep going under, but let's get it, chat. We're 2 subscribers away. If you have an alt or something like that, that would help out a lot. Anything, chat. No! Every time I bring it up. That's crazy. Alright, well, we'll stop looking at it then and just hope that something happens. Oh, Raycon just sent me a text. That's very nice. Anyway. What? Bro, what? Jesse just sent me a vid. Are those all like what is that? Are those schools that you reached out for and they responded? And if so, how many said yes? I'm not gonna bring it up on stream because there's private info in there, but Jesse just sent me a video of like 15 different schools. They just sent you those? Wait, what? What? That is insane. What did you probably can't say publicly what they all said. By the way, our Western Supercell is actually developing a pretty prominent hook echo with some decent rotation here just southeast of Hyannis. If you're in this area, I'd get ready to seek shelter, honestly. I mean, it's rotating pretty clearly. That new velocity scan definitely had a pretty significant uptick in reflectivity scan. You can see a clear area of inflow there. We have a merger that's about to interact here, so we'll see how that affects it, but... Hey, we have 4,500. Let's go. See, exactly. It's when I don't bring it up that we always hit the milestone. Let's go. Anyway. Yes, Alan is a goat, bro. Alan's goated. Without a shadow of a doubt. I don't know if Alan's still watching, but... So they all said, like, hey, you should come here. They accepted your applications that you didn't even ask for. You didn't even apply for any of them, and you got them accepted. Rotation definitely broadening out quite a bit. Why did... Oh, sorry, that was a previous scan. I was like, what? Again, just look at all those mergers. That's the only thing that helped this. Like, seriously. I mean, if this didn't have, like, 18 mergers, this would still be just a large hail producer. Speaking of which, I would not be shocked if we saw an upgrade to the hail tag on this sucker. And this is a pretty intense hail core here, measuring about 72 DBZs. Circulation looks to potentially... Oh, I guess, again, we still don't have the new scan. I keep looking at the old ones. Let's see. Bro, what did you get on, like, your SATs? Or, not SATs. Whatever it's called. Yeah, like 15 different schools invited you. That hail core looks like the Hazel Slabber. What? New reflectivity scan. Looks to be no prominent area of inflow at this point. Perhaps that wasn't even an area of inflow. That was just a cell merger. We had rotation that we still do have. Rotation's actually tightening up. I mean... At the very least, we have some weak rotation here. We'll see what happens. Again, this still is about to undergo another cell merger, which, I mean, is what's been helping this thing so far. I mean, look at all these merger rebounds. Just swallows them. The only thing is, this one popped up west of the actual hook echo and area of inflow, so we'll see if it'll be able to swallow this one, but I doubt it. This could be a destructive cell merger. What's up, Grant? But yeah. So again, continuing to watch this move off to the east-southeast, we did just get a new reflectivity scan. I mean, it looks like it observed that merger pretty well. I mean, it's not done, but we'll see. I'd be willing to bet, though, that we're still going to have a pretty clear velocity couplet. Very broad. Kind of surprised they haven't added the tornado possible tag to it yet. I'm going to be honest. I will note a highly elevated pocket of wind gusts associated with our supercell that originally produced a tornado here. I mean, these are basically surface level winds. Probably measuring a few hundred feet up into the atmosphere, a few thousand feet maybe, but measuring about 65-mile-an-hour wind gusts here. Anyway. Again, going to see what 21ZH does here for Invest 93L. Let's go back over to Tropical Tidbits so that we can compare this to how the last one was going. Oh, we have new GFS as well. Let's see. Yeah, GFS has kind of been pretty conservative with the intensity of this system in general. I mean, it's pretty clear, defined area of low pressure still. I mean, again, this would be like a TD, most likely. Whoops. Around TD intensity, anyway. Again, either way, I see a floating threat evolving with this for when it makes landfall, no matter what. Brody, what? We went back down to 44.99. That's depressing. Anyway. Again, we're going to continue to watch this flash flooding evolve over the Panama City area overnight. So far, we've accumulated just a few inches of rain there, but again, these supercells are tracking over it, so those numbers will increase pretty quickly. Again, I don't see really too much of a tornado threat continuing tonight, because I think pretty soon this is going to be linear. We did just get something new. Yeah, we just got a tornado warning for South Dakota storms. Wow, it hasn't popped up yet on radar. This is for Ola. Here it is. So, tornado warning now going out for parts of South Dakota. This is for Platte, Colony, Eagle, and Ola. If you're in this area, make sure you are seeking shelter immediately on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows and an interior room. Still, again, I mean, we're obviously super far from radar. We're like over 100 miles away, so it's kind of hard to see the exact intensity of the rotation, but it definitely is rotating. Confirmed via multiple radars. The Sioux Falls radar, or the Sioux Falls radar, and the Thedford radar, picking up on at least some broad rotation. And then also the northeastern South Dakota radar, still, again, kind of right just south of Lake Francis Case. So we'll watch out for this. Again, I don't think this is going to produce, but it's not impossible. Give me just a second to update the title here. But I really wasn't expecting that. I'm going to be totally honest. All right. So, continuing to watch our QLCS move east-southeast. Again, broad area rotation here over Ola. Going to be approaching Eagle. If you're out here in this area, make sure you are seeking shelter. What else is there to mention? Again, I really don't think that's going to produce. I'm just going to be totally honest here. It's kind of hard to see the exact intensity of the rotation because of how far away we are from radar, but just based off of the environment, I can't imagine that it's super intense, especially in a QLCS mode. Like, what? Like, look, if we take a look at... Nobody took everything out of context. You're just spamming. That's the only problem. If we look at the environment out here, sure, you've got instability, but for a QLCS mode, if we look at the shear, let's see. I mean, again, it's all kind of like decent. What does SRH look like? Yeah, kind of moderate. So I suppose it's not as poor as I thought. What does 3 Cape appear as? Yeah, 3 Cape's kind of lacking. I think that could be the killer here. For a QLCS mode in particular, you need a lot of 3 Cape. I don't think that 40 is going to cut it. But outside of that, the environment's actually decent that far north, and I didn't realize that. Whoa! We've got not only a potential area of rotation, but a significant downburst damaging wind event occurring with our supercell that originally produced the tornado in Nebraska. Over 75 mile an hour wind gusts here measured on velocities, probably a few hundred feet up into the atmosphere. That had a significant uptick over the past radar scan. Think about that. In 6 minutes, it went from that to that. Just the interaction with these mergers and then the boundary, I guess. But, again, at least some broad rotation here, if nothing else. Definitely some significant downburst damaging winds either way. So if you're north of Seneca, north of Thedford, even in Thedford, I'd be moving indoors and away from windows. I think this is probably going to go just north of town, but it's going to come pretty close to the intersection of 83 and 2, so we'll see. Again, I don't see this producing a tornado in the near future or anything, but still. Let's see. Let's see what things look like here at the surface. Again, SRM and Freddy have given us permission to use their live streams for this stream. And obviously they're quite a ways away, so it's kind of hard to see what's going on quite yet, but I mean, that is a significant uptrend in terms of our damaging wind threat with this thunderstorm. I think this is the first sign of our major QLCS overnight. I mean, I guess technically the first sign was whenever cells started merging in South Dakota, but... Alright. Anyway, we'll look at this for a while. And I can't guarantee that this is going to be that intense for too much longer. It could be gone by the next scan, or it could be even more gnarly, but... I think there's no doubt here that we've definitely got some intense downburst damage and wind gusts associated with this supercell. And it does still look like we do have some broad circulation here with our supercell southeast of Hyannis. I mean, very broad, if it exists, but... we'll see. Again, I'd be watching areas just a couple miles north of Thedford. Well, you were spamming messages and you were saying a bunch of really random stuff. So I think 60-second timeout, I think you can live with that. I'm going to be honest. What do you think? Storm so far in northern Utah. That's a slight risk. I think it's supposed to be isolated. Well, it is going to be isolated in nature. Um, I I mean, we've got storms right now in portions of far northern Utah here. Again, the main thing that you'd be watching out for are damaging wind gusts. It would be about 60 to 70 miles an hour. Again, it was a 60-second timeout, so I think you can be mature enough to live with that and kind of just stay on topic. If you can't, then bye. You can go watch somebody else. Oh, you talking about again? All right, that's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Again, waiting for the next velocity scan here. Radar's not updating very frequently, I'll be honest. Again, I'm not really too concerned about this tour warning in South Dakota. I'm just going to be totally honest. Again, make sure that you are seeking shelter, but I don't think this is going to produce. Again, you've got like 33 cape and a QLCS mode. I don't think that's going to cut it. We should have a new reflectivity scan, because we have the new CC scan. Let's see. They did just update that tornado warning. It's still radar indicated. Again, still includes Ola, Hugh Hills, and Academy. Let's go to scope here. See what we can find. All right. Yeah, let's look at super res. Yes, we do have a new reflectivity scan on scope. There it is on Omega. Okay. So again, hail core continues to grow. What do velocities look like at this point? Yeah, that pocket of velocities is still very intense and very concentrated. There it is. I mean, it's not like anything crazy, but I would be moving indoors if I were in the path of this, which, again, areas in the path of this include Thedford, the Highway 83 and Highway 2 intersection. Thedford is not a large town by any means, but it does hold a few hundred people, I'd imagine. Let's see. Thedford, Nebraska population. Yeah, about 200 people. So, I'm using Radar Omega. Best radar. Oh, that was bad. Best radar app on the market. It is $8.99, but in my opinion, it is well worth it. A lot more advanced than even what some TV meteorologists are out there using. So. Anyway, again, I'm going to continue to watch this downburst damaging wind pocket move east-southeast. Again, likely that this is going to miss the town of Thedford, but it's going to go pretty dangerously close. I wouldn't risk it. I would say if you're traveling along Highway 83 north of Thedford, especially if you're in like a semi or something like that, I would take extreme precaution when moving through this area. Again, significant damaging wind gusts of 70 to 80 miles an hour currently occurring. Thank you, Jonathan. Again, just a couple hundred feet up into the atmosphere, we're measuring wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour on velocities, so I would not be shocked to see the next severe thunderstorm warning here be a considerable or potentially even a destructive one. They will have to reissue it here pretty shortly, I'd imagine. Again, it's only got about 10 minutes left on it, and it's about to exit the warning polygon. Again, it's going to absorb these cell mergers, and I do think that that's going to promote an even more intense, significant damaging wind threat. Let's see. Yeah, so still no scan coming in yet. We should get a new one here in just a minute, though. Again, the main thing that we'll be looking at is velocity from this point forward. I will say this is a heavily electrified storm. Like, we don't have lightning strikes turned on here on the computer, but we go ahead and turn this on. Very, very lightning dense. For sure. Alright, new reflectivity and CC scan. Still waiting for the velocities to update. Again, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. Again, donations are optional, but they do help out a lot. Alrighty. Let's see, do we have a new velocity update? We do. So our pocket of damaging winds continues to move off to the east-southeast. Admittedly looking a little bit... Oh, they get worse and worse every time. Admittedly looking a little bit less prominent, but still, again, that could partially be chalked up to the fact that we are looking a little bit lower now as we get closer and closer to the radar. We're still measuring wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, close to 75 miles an hour, virtually at the surface at this point. So again, if I'm out here in this area, I would be moving indoors. Again, down trees and power lines, certainly a possibility with this intense pocket of damaging wind gusts. High-profile vehicles may be turned on the highway. Our Hyena supercell is continuing to move east-southeast, producing golf ball-sized hail, damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour, rotating broadly. And then our South Dakota tornado-warned QLCS is still broadly rotating there north of Platte Colony. And there we go. So yeah, they did extend that severe thunderstorm warning now as a considerable severe thunderstorm warning for damaging wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour, quarter-sized hail. Again, hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect considerable tree damage. Wind damage is also likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. Again, this includes Thedford, Halsey, areas along Highway 83 and Highway 2, Seneca even. Again, everybody in this warning polygon should be getting indoors and away from windows. Again, this is a considerable severe thunderstorm warning now as this downburst damaging wind pocket continues to thrive. Again, for some reason, Omega is taking the scans in slow, but we do have a new velocity scan here. And again, it is still highlighting that pocket of damaging wind gusts close to 75 miles an hour. So, again, if you're in this area, you need to make sure that you are getting indoors at the very least. Again, preferably avoiding travel, but understand it is rush hour, so we'll see. But I would watch that for sure. Again, I don't think there's too much of a reason to continue watching South Dakota. Pretty evident at this point that it's not going to do too much. What's up, Cyril? Again, I'm going to continue to watch this supercells that tracks east-southeast. Again, Omega's taking the scans in pretty slowly here. We've already got, I believe, 2 new velocity scans. Yeah, 2 new scans on scope. Again, even on the new scan, still highlighting that significant pocket of damaging wind gusts. And I think that's going to continue to be the case here for quite a while, honestly. I mean, I don't see anything really stopping this. Again, high shear, high cape. I mean, this is a pretty gnarly environment. Actually, the scope pocket, again, it's slightly contaminated, but we're going to bring this up on your screen. I don't know if you guys can see that, but if you can, I mean, it's hard to tell on scope whenever pixels are contamination, when they're not, but we are measuring wind gusts at 100 miles per hour. So, again, perhaps contaminated. But either way, still an obvious swath of 80 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts, I'd say. Pretty close to the surface. Again, if you are out here in this area, you need to be getting indoors and preferably away from windows. Again, this is a significant supercell. What's happened? So far we did have a brief tornado near the town of Thedford, Nebraska, just north of town. We also had a significant hail event associated with our supercell moving southeast of Hyannis. And then, again, Invest 93L continues to produce flash flooding across most of the Florida Panhandle. In fact, there's a new flash flood warning going out here for the Rosemary Beach area and Sunnyside. Again, I am pretty concerned about what we're seeing here with our supercell approaching Thedford. Again, not good. Velocities are... Oh, wow. There we go. Yeah, so I would say that these are almost clearly not contaminated pixels. We're measuring nearly 100 mile per hour wind gusts virtually at the surface. I really would not be shocked to see an upgrade to a destructive here, like, extremely soon, because this scan is already 2 minutes old. Again, if you were out here north of Thedford, I would honestly be getting into my, preferably my tornado safe spot, treating this as if it were a tornado, because we're talking about, you know, EF0, low-end EF1 tornado force winds at the surface here. And they're going to be widespread, unlike a tornado. Also, rotation looks to be getting a little bit more tight. I would not be shocked to see this even produce a tornado. They may honestly tour warn it. I'm definitely more concerned about this supercell than our South Dakota QLCS, at least for a damaging wind threat and, again, potentially a tornado threat. But we'll see what happens. Again, if you're just now tuning in, significant damaging wind gusts, 90 to 95 miles per hour at the surface, approaching Thedford, Nebraska. Again, if you're out here, you need to be getting indoors and away from windows, at the very least. This is a significant pocket of downburst damaging wind gusts. Very significant. And, again, that's going to be moving east-southeast very soon. RadarScope's Super Res feature actually has wind gusts over 105 miles an hour, which, again, it's kind of hard to say whether or not that's contaminated, but we did actually just get a new velocity scan from RadarScope, and something interesting is happening. It looks like we're seeing that enhanced pocket of damaging winds continue for the Thedford area, but our area of rotation looks to be becoming much more clear and confined. So if I'm along Highway 83, again, I'm getting off, especially if I'm in a high-profile vehicle like a semi. Again, this is a pretty tight area of strong rotation. No CC drop or anything like that yet, but... And again, Radar Omega is not taking the scan quite yet, but Scope has it. And again, it looks like this could produce a tornado very shortly. Radar Omega is still like 3 scans behind. So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised they haven't upgraded this to destructive yet. Again, I would not be shocked if they threw out a tour warning for this. Let me go ahead and show you guys the scope view so that you can actually see this. Again, pretty confined area of strong rotation there, just east of Seneca. Pretty well east of Seneca, north of Thedford. Again, our big-time damaging wind threat potentially looks to be moving a little bit further south, too, so potentially a little bit closer to Thedford. And then our area of rotation is becoming quite a bit more tight and confined. Again, would not be shocked to see a tornado spin up here north of the Thedford area. There's your rotation. Again, pretty much along Highway 83 at this point, most likely. So, again, watching to see if they're going to issue a tornado warning for this. But we'll see. Again, your area of rotation at this point is going to be moving along Highway 83 again. Oh, Omega just got the scan. Okay. Still no update on velocities or reflectivity, so not on what matters, but we have the CC. Again, no discernible CC drop. But definitely intensifying rotation. They've actually got a newer reflectivity scan than Scope now. Wow. Okay. So, still, oh, yes, they keep getting worse and worse. Reflectivity and CC are updated. Velocity still 10 minutes behind. We're going to hope that velocities don't line up with that. Yeah, that's contamination. But, let's look at Scope here. Okay, you need to get out. I don't have the mic. I don't have the mic mute button now, so I have to, unfortunately. All right. Bro's mean. I am kind of mean. But yeah, again, still watching that area of rotation there, just north of Thedford. Don't think it's actively producing a tornado or anything, but would not be shocked if they still give it a tornado warning here pretty shortly. Again, your rotation is right along Highway 83, north of Thedford, a couple miles north of Thedford, so. What's up, Andrew? Think Michigan could see a slate risk tomorrow? Probably not. I think if we were to see a slate risk tomorrow, it would probably be confined a little bit further west. Which, I mean, it is, but you know what I mean. Again, I would not be shocked to see an upgrade to a 5% tornado risk somewhere in northern Illinois. Again, very similar to what we saw a few days ago setup-wise. The environment is not bad at all. It's a question of storm mode. The environment supports... Honestly, with an entirely discrete storm mode, you can make the case that a decently strong tornado would be possible, in my opinion, but this storm mode is likely going to be somewhat unimpressive. Again, your instability is quite high. I mean, this is 10 a.m., so you can't... Let's go back to the 18Z. Your instability is going to be quite high. In fact, I would say extremely high, if it would like to load here. Okay. They did cancel the tour warning for our South Dakota QLCS, by the way. But your instability is going to be quite high here, sitting at about 3,000 joules per kilogram of surface cape, just west of the Chicago metro area. Taking a look at your wind shear, again, your shear is actually pretty decent for this event, in contrast to our recent significant severe weather events in the Midwest. Obviously, it's summertime, so this is somewhat atypical, but our shear is not entirely terrible. It could still certainly be higher. Within the 0 to 3, we're sitting at about 35 knots. 0 to 1, we're sitting at about 30 knots. 0 to 6, we're sitting at about 45 knots. Your SRH is obviously pretty decent with this event as well. In light of that, the 0 to 3 SRH sitting at about 350. But again, if you cherry pick here and you go into southern Wisconsin, you can get the areas where the supercells track over will be higher than that, obviously. But outside of that, again, your 3 Cape values are actually very high. If we take a look at 3 Cape here, you'll notice again, obviously the areas where the supercells track over, they're going to be higher, but generally we're sitting at about 150 to 203 Cape across northern Illinois for most of the event, which would be more than enough even to support a tornado threat if a QLCS develops. It doesn't necessarily have to be discrete whenever you've got 153 Cape and decent SRH. So, no, yeah, extremely high is definitely, again, we've got 8,000 Cape on the GFS for next week, which is obviously not going to come to fruition, but it would be kind of hilarious if it did. Again, for some reason I thought we were sitting closer to 4,000 or 5,000 for this event, but yeah, this is what I would consider extremely high. Uh, yeah. And again, that doesn't even, if we get a little bit further out, the fantasy runs get even better. Or the fantasy frames. It's all the same run. But, again, even Omega tracking it at close to 6,000 joules per kilogram, which, again, pretty interesting stuff. Rotation still quite tight. Oh, excuse me, I was looking at our old scan. Rotation not so tight. I mean, it's still quite tight, but it's very weak. Again, significant downburst damaging wind event approaching Thedford as we speak. Again, these are virtually surface level wind gusts, and we're measuring, 70 to 75, even close to 80 miles an hour at times. So we'll watch as that progresses further down towards Thedford. But again, if you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We are 2 subscribers away from 4,500. We do this virtually every day for areas all across the country. I'll tell you what, you don't need a good storm in Virginia. Virginia is, not in the best condition. Which, again, it's just the summertime pop-ups, man. We haven't really had any organized severe weather threat, and you don't need to. Whenever these pop-ups happen in the summertime with all that extreme instability and it's so slow-moving, it doesn't matter. You don't need to have extremely heavy precipitation. And you don't. Again, even like this localized flash flood warning in southern Illinois, exact same case. Not super heavy precipitation, just extremely slow-moving thunderstorms. That sounds good, a little rave. You don't have to, but yeah, even if they do extend the slight risk into Michigan, it would be a 15 wind, non-hatched. But I don't know. I just personally don't think that there's too much of a chance of that happening. Again, I do think that a 5% tour risk certainly could be added somewhere in this vicinity. Some of our models have been saying maybe a little bit further south, even into portions of central Illinois, but I think it's a little bit more likely to happen up towards the Wisconsin-Illinois state line. Again, obviously, you're mainly going to be looking out for damaging wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles an hour, but we'll see. Again, HRRR likes this to be a pretty tame event compared to what some of the NAM runs have been looking like. I'll be totally honest with you guys. HRRR wants like a spotty, semi-discrete storm mode, whereas some of the NAM runs have been panning a full-blown massive MCS, like near derecho standards on some isolated runs. The recent ones haven't been quite that intense, but a couple days ago, but yeah, even the 18C, you can see a clearly defined bow echo line of storms there, which, again, if something like this were to play out in your high Cape environment, I do think that lower level shear is going to rip this up a little bit, but, these could be some pretty significant damaging wind gusts, 60 to 70 miles an hour across most of the northern half of Illinois. And that's another difference. The NAM has this kind of trending southeast in general, while the HRRR has it pretty much going due east. So, we'll see. But generally, a lot of our models have, even outside of the NAM and HRRR, have been putting it a little bit further south. Again, this is getting kind of ridiculous at this point. I mean, this is... these pixels are obviously contaminated here, but you're looking at a large swath of 80 to 85 mile per hour wind gusts. These are surface wind gusts, guys. I mean, we are over the radar site, and these are, again, directly impacting the town of Thedford. So, again, if you were in Thedford, I would be getting indoors and away from windows, certainly, preferably in an interior room even. I mean, this is a destructive pocket of damaging winds here. I mean, again, this is honestly getting kind of ridiculous. That cell merger just exploded the intensity here. What time do you think this will pass through the Interstate 88 corridor in Illinois tomorrow? Yeah, so we'd mainly be watching in northwestern Illinois out there, east of Davenport. We'd mainly be looking at the early afternoon time hours. In general, this is kind of a short-lived event, most likely, I would say. Again, the HRRR doesn't even necessarily have anything going along the I-88 corridor, but if we're listening to the NAM's guidance, the NAM 18Z run, the most recent run of the NAM 3K, has this moving through the I-88 corridor at about 4 or 5 p.m., so I suppose kind of the late afternoon time hours, actually, but... We'll continue to watch that as the forecasting evolves for this event, but I definitely think it is possible that you see some intense damaging wind gusts, so we'll look out for your area there, Alan. Again, I'm quite concerned here for the town of Thedford, I'm going to be totally honest. Again, I don't know if there are any mobile homes out here, but let's see. Should be home by then. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Let's look at Thedford. Let's see. Let's go down to the street view. Yeah, I mean, it looks like these are mostly kind of older, not necessarily super impressively constructed homes. Definitely some mobile homes, I'd say. Yeah. So I really think Thedford's in for quite a nasty situation here. I mean, it's ongoing right now. So if you were out here in Thedford, again, hopefully you took this seriously and got underground, or at least took shelter to the best of your ability. But, I mean, this is a significant pocket of damaging wind gusts. Looks super redneck there for sure, yeah. Yeah, it looks like something the sandhills of Nebraska would bring you. Alright, let's go back to scope. We'll see if they've got a new update for us. Again, I'm honestly shocked they've kept this severe warning at 70 miles an hour, I'm going to be honest. These supercells down here closer to Tryon are not going to have the potential to try, ironically enough. Again, they're going to get swallowed by developing QLCS pretty quickly. So, again, I would watch Thedford very closely here. I think they're, again, going through a pretty nasty, damaging windbag here with a lot of poorly constructed homes. Not a great situation. And as you can see, they're now moving over the radar site. So, we are officially in Thedford. It looks like we could even be seeing some broad rotation develop. Kind of hard to tell. But, luckily they do have the, this little guy out here. He's going to tell us what our peak wind gusts look like. And it should be going right through the thick of things here, so... Well, there's good reasoning that some of the warnings haven't been super up to date, and I personally think that they've been doing an incredible job through the situation that they're going through. Can you have a shout out? No. Sorry. I know that sounds mean, but again, I foresee a pretty nasty situation here for Thedford. And generally outside of that, this is a pretty rural area. I mean, through this, again, it's the Sandhills of Nebraska, the most rural area in the entire country. Um, the big towns have about 300 people. So, again, going right through the radar site there, right over it. So we'll see. I mean, again, the fact that the severe warnings left at 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts is kind of a shame, but will Northeast Ohio have any severe? Probably on Wednesday here, or excuse me, on Thursday rather. I've looked at the setup a little bit closer, and I think it's probably going to be some pretty significant damaging winds. I wouldn't actually rule out a 2% tornado threat being added specifically in portions of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Again, very high instability. Which, I mean, it's summer, so. But Wednesday and Thursday, again, definitely look to be decently interesting. And then, outside of that, Invest 93L will give us something to watch. I mean, considering the fact that it's summer, we're kind of decently active right now. I mean, all right. Let's see what Scope's bringing us. Nothing new. Again, I have a feeling we're going to see some pretty significant reported gusts out of Thedford from the, whatever this is. The Mesonet. But outside of that, again, this is going to devolve into a QLCS pretty quickly, which, ironically enough, as it does so, the damaging wind threat is going to decrease in terms of peak intensity. It'll go up in terms of how widespread it is, but it's kind of funny. You don't typically see that. It is so cold in my room. It's about 70 degrees in here. Storm Media and Friday both have some pretty neat. Oh, I don't know if that's okay. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. You should be able to. Storm Media and Freddy actually have some pretty decent structure. Again, they are getting a view from the southwest here of this monster thunderstorm over Thedford. Again, we'll see what kind of wind gusts the Mesonet record here, and likely in just a few minutes we're going to know. I would imagine they're going to be somewhere between 80 and 90 miles an hour. I mean, that was a significant pocket of damaging winds, and it still is. Um, and again, it looks to me like we've got some or maybe even some tight rotation developing. I mean, again, it's pretty bad news as well. I mean, this storm is not moving incredibly quickly. It's not. Um, I mean, the last velocity scan that we saw here, you know, these are virtually surface level wind gusts, about 90 miles an hour. Again, OFB merger, just explosion day. That's what this is, honestly. An enhanced in Michigan? Okay. Well, we're definitely not going to see an enhanced in Michigan. I will. I will. I don't want to say I'm going to bet on that because I'm not going to bet money on it, but we're not going to see an enhanced risk in Michigan. Again, I would not be shocked to see an enhanced risk for Northern Illinois. I don't think it'll happen, but it could. We're definitely not seeing it in Michigan. We'd be lucky to see a slight risk in Michigan, which that's not impossible. I personally don't think it'll happen, but it's not impossible. I think Lake Michigan is going to cook all those storms, though, as they move over it. Mesoscale convective vortex in Michigan looks good. Like, we're not too concerned about Michigan. I'm just going to be totally honest here. I mean, again, if we were to see an upgrade, it would be for damaging winds, but I don't buy what the HRRR is selling us here. I'm going to be honest. Again, the HRRR is kind of in the outlier to literally every other model for this event. I think the NAM, something like what the NAM wants, is probably a bit more likely. And in this instance, Michigan would stick with the marginal. And again, there's other models that support this idea too. So, the HWRF, similar to the NAM. Icon, similar to the NAM. RRFS, even, similar to the NAM. Which, of course, the RRFS wants a super outbreak, but this is actually kind of funny. Let me show you guys this. Again, this is not a reliable forecasting tool. This is all just for some fun. It even says that right at the top there. This is all experimental. It's just kind of funny to watch this, the RRFS paint a super outbreak for every single event. Just look at the reflectivity here. Let's hone in on this, and let's go. Just a monster super outbreak over Wisconsin and Michigan. It's April 27th all over again. I will say there have been some models that, especially the NAM, has been kind of off and on like a Southern Illinois event overnight tomorrow night. I cannot stop voice cracking. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I'm just going to be totally honest here. I mean, I don't see. They did extend the severe warning. It's still just for damaging wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour. Wow. If you're in Dunning, Brewster, or north of Stapleton in Nebraska, make sure you are getting indoors and away from windows. It's going to be traveling along Highway 2 near Halsey. I'm approaching Anselmo over the next hour or so. Again, this is a considerable severe thunderstorm warning. Again, this is going to be, eventually, this will be approaching the Broken Bow area. By then, we'll be looking at a large, full-blown QLCS. And Broken Bow is really the next population center that has any sort of substance out here. Like Halsey, I mean, holds like 100 people. Dunning holds like 100 people maybe, and Selmo holds like 50 to 100 people. I mean, it's very few and far between for actual towns out here. Stapleton is actually a little bit more populated. You're looking at about 200 people. North Platte is a large population center, but that's after Broken Bow. North Platte actually has a few thousand people. 60% tornado risk unhatched. North Platte, Nebraska population. I think it's about 2,300. 23,000. Okay, I misremembered that. That is insane. How does North Platte have 23? I guess it is quite large. I mean, okay. It's just crazy because everywhere else out here is so sparsely populated. North Platte is like the only town within like a 100-mile radius to have a population of over 1,000, and it has 20,000. It's kind of crazy. Jimmy Jackson. I don't think so. We have 50 likes. Again, if you are new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We are one subscriber away from 4,500. Once again. Yeah, we do this every day for areas all across the country. Whether it's severe weather, hurricanes, or winter storms, we've got you covered. Again, hurricane season this year looks pretty boring, but we will still be watching everything as closely as possible, because even the most inactive hurricane seasons will still bring you, a couple of landfalls. So, again, the GFS in general doesn't really have any developing tropical systems. Now, see, I don't want to make it sound like that's the only thing that matters, because obviously this doesn't determine how hurricane season is going to go for the next 3 weeks, but at this time of year, we're seeing fantasy runs like crazy. Like, we're seeing hurricane after hurricane after hurricane coming out of the off the coast of Africa. I mean, it's just what we usually look at. This year, we're barely even seeing tropical waves. I mean, and again, there's still so much time. I mean, we're at the very beginning of hurricane season. But, I mean, I guess technically we're about a month and a half in. Haven't really seen a whole lot. Really doubt the SPC said Michigan will get an upgrade for a tornado threat. Let's see. I don't think they ever said that. Let's look, though. They did say they could increase the, oh, they did actually. I was wrong. In northern lower Michigan, that is an interesting forecast. I don't see what they're getting from that. I guess these HRRR magic supercells, but waiting to see what we get out of Thedford. I mean, the Mesonet obviously had to have recorded something. I know it says 25-mile-an-hour gust, but that's from 25 minutes ago. Which, at that point, the event was just getting started for that area. Again, we're starting to watch this develop into an actual full-blown QLCS at this point. We are one subscriber away from the big 4500. Again, I think we can probably end off pretty soon here. I don't see much of a reason to stay live at this point. You will sub on an alt, thank you. Deli's in the chat for Low Rave for getting us back over the 4,500 mark. Let's see, did it happen? 4,503. We got 4 subs at once. Sometimes I wonder about things like that. It's like, what? Anyway, thank you guys so much. Maybe it's a glitch on YouTube's end, but it's been happening a lot recently. But thank you so much. Let's see, how far away are we from being here for 2 hours? We're 19 minutes away. Do we stay here for another 19 minutes just so that we can hit the 2-hour mark? I don't know what we'd talk about for the next 19 minutes, but again, even our downburst damaging wind event here looks to be dying out. Downburst damaging wind looks to be dying out. That's a lot of Ds. So, we'll see, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to be here for too much longer, honestly. Again, significant damaging wind gusts can be expected across pretty much all of central Nebraska tonight. Again, very large QLCS event. It's not going to meet the criteria for a derecho. It's not going to travel 400 miles, most likely, at severe intensity, which is why I say that. But I guess technically it is possible. I mean, I would highly doubt that, though. Yeah. And even outside of that, we're likely not going to see enough significant wind gust reports for it to be considered a derecho. But especially because of how rural an area this is. I will point out, I don't, like, I'm kind of surprised that we're not getting any information from Thedford yet in terms of a Mesonet recorded gust. Again, at this point, the windbag, the downburst damaging wind event is slowly but surely fizzling out. Still looking at about 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts, though, approaching Halsey and Dunning, especially along the gust front. I'd imagine it's going to get quite intense. But yeah. Outside of that, not a whole lot else to say. I think we're probably going to end off here pretty shortly. Anyway. So at 5:55, wind gusts were rating 46 miles an hour. See, that's kind of crazy. I mean, perhaps the windbag died out really quickly at that point, but I find that hard to believe. Again, this isn't like a peak gust or anything like that. This is just one specific recorded gust. That could be why, but I will note temperature dropped like 20 degrees in about 5 minutes. What's up, Sean? I'm interested to see what the peak gust was out of this. I mean, again, the mesonet was. We should have some info here from the NWS pretty soon. I know they're short-staffed, but let's see. See if we can find anything on social media. Again, they're getting flamed for not issuing a destructive. Especially after the Whitman incident last year. Anyway. How does tomorrow's tornado outlook look? Yeah, so again, mainly going to be watching for damaging winds, but I would not rule out a couple of tornadoes. I think if storm mode clears up and then we also see a little bit more instability, I would not rule out a 5% tornado risk being added here across most of northern Illinois. Again, it depends on what actually comes to fruition, the HRRR, the NAM, the HWRF, the RFS, whatever, because they all want something different pretty much. The confidence for this event is actually quite low, but in general, I think it's mainly going to be a northern Illinois issue. If something like this, like the HRRR wants to play out, perhaps we could see a couple of tornadoes here in northeastern Illinois in the evening time hours. And then if we see something like what the NAM model wants, it's completely different. It would mainly be a damaging wind threat, but that damaging wind threat would be quite intense. You can see a very clear bow echo shape there for several frames in a row in the NAM model across most of northern Illinois. And then if we see something like, for example, what the HWRF, can you only look at tropical systems on Omega with the HWRF? Am I confusing models here? I was looking at something earlier today. I really thought it was the HWRF. Sorry, the HWRFV3. That's what it is. If we look at the HWRFV3, go over to the reflectivity here on Pivotal Weather. It kind of likes the idea of this being an event, again, kind of more focused on damaging winds across most of northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. And then the Super Outbreak Forecaster, the RFS, wants something similar to that as well. So, again, it just kind of depends on what model you think is going to play out correctly. I would lean something more towards like what the NAM wants, like a big-time damaging wind threat. And in that case, the tornado threat would be quite low. But anyway, again, oh, that was a bad. They keep getting worse and worse. Awaiting report from Thedford. Waiting for a Mesonet report or something like that. So, Falcon storm chasing. Looks like they had a view of some downed trees. Um, near Thedford. New mesoscale. Scattered large hail continuing in stronger storms with increasing potential for strong to severe gusts from 7 to 9 p.m. Again, as our QLCS evolves, I think that we're probably going to see some of those significant damaging wind gusts become a little bit more widespread. Tornado threat remains highly minuscule for the rest of the night. I would really doubt that we see another tornado. If it were to happen, it would probably be with our Minnesota-Wisconsin mode, I'll be honest. But again, I would doubt that mode as well, honestly. So, anyway, I don't know if there's much else to say, guys. Again, I think we can probably end off here pretty shortly. You bet we see a few QLCS tornadoes tonight. How much you want to bet? $5 for 2 more warnings. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I doubt we'll be here for another 10-20 minutes. I would like to see the Mesonet gust recording come out, but looks like that's going to take a while. It is still pouring out there in Thetford right now, so. Again, a lot of the homes out there really aren't too well built, so even a slight elevation in winds could cause some problems, and we had far more than a slight elevation in winds. I mean, again, based off of what we saw on radar and what we've seen from some chasers, I would estimate we probably had some 80 plus mile per hour surface gusts. Um, yeah. We're watching this QLCS pretty much become fully connected here as we speak. Again, mainly going to be watching out for damaging winds across central Nebraska tonight, but a secondary mode of storms across portions of eastern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin could bring some issues in terms of hail and wind. Still got some severe thunderstorms back into the Rockies likely tonight. This storm here near Ethied actually has an incredible reflectivity presentation with it. DBZ values getting from 70 to 75 pretty consistently. And that is going to be, again, approaching Ethied pretty soon. And then areas near Hudson and Lander over the next hour. Golf ball sized hail and damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. But anyway, let's take a look at icon on the 18Z. I don't think we finished looking at it. See, again, like, as a defined area of low pressure, it does. And there is actually the potential that it strengthens a little bit inland into Louisiana just because of how swampy it is down there. It's not impossible for it to, not die out incredibly quickly. If something like this were to play out, this would probably be Tropical Storm Dexter, just very low end intensity, like incredibly low end Tropical Storm. Now, if something like the 12Z were to play out, we'd probably see nothing out of it. Anything above 1,010 millibars is kind of iffy, which most of the recent runs, even on the Icon, have kind of been saying. I mean, I don't know. I suppose not the Icon, but the GFS in particular. There was an EF2 in Utah from the 12? What do you mean from the 12? Whoa. Oh, you mean like the 12th of July? Yeah. What? I don't understand how that's an EF2 damage indicator. First of all, this is literally minor roof removal. But outside of that, what? Like, was this... Let's see here. This was, again, middle of Nowheresville, Utah. Northeast of LaSalle. Where's LaSalle? A little bit further north, was it? I don't remember, was it north or south 570? It is... Oh, it's a ways north. Well, let's just look for LaSalle here. Come on. Never mind, I guess we're not going to look for it. That is kind of crazy, though. That is the first SIG tour that Utah has seen in... I don't even know how long. I mean, it's definitely at least been, like, I'd say 5 years. Let's see. Obviously, we didn't have anything in 2024. That was a SIG tour in Utah. We'll let it load just to make sure. Yep. 2023. Nope. 2022. Oh, okay. We did have something in 2022. We had a large EF2 wedge tornado north of the town of Helper. When was the last time before that? Yeah, here we go. So the last time, other than 2022, that we had a SIG tour in Utah was... My goodness. This had to have been at least 2 decades ago. 2002. So 23 years ago was the last time that we had a SIG tour in Utah outside of 2022. So this is that's a historic thing. I mean, yeah, we had a SIG tour in Utah, Mr. Twister, a few days ago. I don't understand how it's an EF2DI. I'm not going to lie to you. I just don't see it. Let me show you the damage indicator. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Again, I don't know how... What was July 12th? So, we didn't even have... Oh, wait, this is the 15th. It's literally today. Okay, we actually did have the, Oh, I did see this. This was the Fire NATO. Yep. So we had an EF2 Fire NATO. That's right. Oh, it literally says Fire Tornado here. Okay. See that I don't understand how they rate fire tornadoes. That's what I don't get. Like, how do you know what was caused by the tornado and what wasn't? And again, I don't see how this is an EF2 DI. I really don't. Like, was the roof like just like was the roof anchor bolted? Like, also, what do you mean most walls remain standing? I do not see a singular wall collapsed. Not a one. Anyway, this gust front is becoming incredibly prominent. I will say that much. Yeah, it looks like they're not going to give us a gust from the Thetford Mesonet. So, we'll see. Again, at this point, it's contaminated, but still likely some significant damage and wind gusts associated with this here. Um, did you miss anything? I don't know if you were here for the Thedford incident, but significant windbag hit Thedford, Nebraska. Likely damaging winds of 80 miles an hour or greater at the surface. Outside of that, though, no. I mean, we are about ready to end off stream here. We have officially been live for 2 hours. We hit 4,500 again. We got 50 likes. I'm pretty satisfied. I was thinking about clipping up our Twisted stream from the other night and putting it into a video. Just because it was an incredible chase, but nobody wants to sit there and watch all 3 hours of that stream back. Actually, I think it was 4 hours. It's 3.5. Are we... Did it work?
Are we?
We're still live. My computer died. Somehow we're still live. That's kind of funny. Alright, well, we are going to end off here. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next one.